I'm here with Elvis Duran, who is the host of Elvis Duran in the Morning Show, which is a nationally syndicated radio show reaching millions of listeners, and author of the beautifully written new book, Where Do I Begin?
It's so beautifully written. Buy 2 copies.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
It's an honor to be here because what you do is really what I want to do.
So let's change places.
Okay, happily. I mean, we have a great time on our radio show and we interview great guests, but we play music and just talk about, stuff. But you were just focused on interviewing some of the biggest names. So when I got the call that you were coming in today, I was a little nervous.
Oh, come on.
I am. You're
generous.
You've interviewed some great people. So anyway,
Same with you.
It's an honor to be here. Chelsea Handler, was she one of your favorites?
I've done her twice. Very short interviews, but very succinct and got to the point.
Yeah.
And she's just brutally honest.
She doesn't fool around.
I think it's so impactful when someone's just really honest with you and genuine.
See what I do? I do this. You're supposed to be interviewing me, but I'm now interviewing you. This is my problem. This is why I had to write a book.
You've been in this business for decades now. So just tell me, I always tell people, small steps before big leaps. You're not going to go from just starting out as a nationally syndicated radio host. You started out as a local radio person.
Yeah.
So how did being in local radio prepare you for the big time?
Slow steps, as you said. In radio and what I do, and I guess in TV and a lot of media, you have to start on the intern level or in the very, very small market level like I did in McKinney, Texas, and then slowly work your way in. And that's the difference between then and now. Now you could get a podcast having never done it before, and you could become a superstar in several months. So I paid my dues all these years, and I could have just had a podcast. But it's been quite a journey. It's been an amazing, amazing journey, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Looking back when you were a teenager, what are some of the biggest mistakes you made, and how did you overcome them?
I think the biggest mistakes I made were the ones I needed to make, where I didn't communicate well with management, or I maybe partied a little too hard when I should have been focusing on my work. I was way into my career until I realized you really should go to work sober. Of course, I was in college. That was a long time ago. But, I made a lot of mistakes, but, I don't feel like I should be ashamed of them or regret them, because I think every step forward, every step backward that we lose is important to make us who we are. Don't you agree? I mean...
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things, though, just when I started my career, is like this anxiety of putting yourself out there, right? Once you put yourself out there, whether it's on social media, on radio, on podcasts, on TV, wherever, you become a little bit more vulnerable, and you have this pressure to almost be yourself or share something or try and appease a certain audience. So did you feel like that when you started out?
Yes, and vulnerability back then was frightening, and now, with age and with experience, you learn that vulnerability is a great thing. Being able to say to you, I'm nervous about doing this interview with you. I've seen who you've interviewed. I don't know where you're going with your 5 questions. I'm being vulnerable, and I think it's great. It's great to show people that you're human, and vulnerability is nothing you should run away from. I had to learn that late in life.
And then later in life, in 2014, you had this big surgery where you lost over 100 pounds.
Yeah, 140 pounds.
How did that change your life?
Oh, everything. I wasn't sweating when I was walking up staircases. I could put clothes on that I could buy in stores. I mean, but, it changed my life where I never, ever hated myself for being obese. But getting around in this world of ours is difficult when you're overweight. And so it changed my life in so many ways. It truly did. It gave me a new lease on life. My mom and dad, who have passed away, I watched them make bad health decisions in their later years, and they paid for it. For many years, they died slowly. I said, I don't want to do that. So I decided I had to get healthy. Changed my life.
Isn't it really interesting? Like, I see that in my life, too. It's either you mimic someone else or you rebel against it. So it seemed like you rebelled against your parents' eating habits.
Well, eating habits and just lack of exercise habits. And, when they retired, they really didn't have a plan. And so I learned from that. When I'm ready to retire, which I probably never will, you need to have a plan. You can't just go, okay, I'm done working. Now what? You can't do it that way. So I just learned that I needed to take care of myself, have somewhat of a roadmap, like what do I want to do next. I never was a 5-year plan, 10-year plan kind of guy. I just kind of took the jobs that were available and just did them. And now I'm realizing I lucked out doing that, because not everyone can succeed that way.
Yeah, and then you also came out as gay many years ago, and now you're getting married on September 14th, which is my birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Was it hard to initially come out as gay? Were you fearing the reaction by other people?
A little bit. You know, I've always been out to my friends and most of my family and everyone I went to high school with. I've been out as a gay guy since I was in high school, so that wasn't the problem. I just was never out on the air, and you know, I really didn't put myself out there on the air with many aspects of my life. I didn't talk about my private life, and being gay was just one of the things I just didn't talk about. I was the host of the show, surrounded by a lot of people, and I used them as my interviews. I would interview everyone on my show and to ask them how their date was the night before, or how's their new apartment, or what new restaurants did they try. And I never talked about myself. And one day I realized I needed to. I realized that I needed to connect with people other than just talking to them. I needed to connect with them on we have this in common level. And being gay was one of the things I started talking about. And it was underwhelming. When I came out, everyone was like, oh, you're gay. What else? Tell us something interesting, because that's not interesting. It's just what you are. And I never ever want to be identified as the gay guy. I'm just, so happens I'm gay, but I'm the nice radio guy, or whatever I'm doing. Book writer guy.
Multifaceted career.
Yes, there's more to life than who you're sleeping with. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, when I came out as suffering from anxiety, the night before was really scary, and then the next day when I made the post, it was very liberating, and you could see everyone else felt good about it because they had suffered, and so I almost empowered them to be able to come out and kind of take a pride in who they are. Do you feel like when you came out, you almost liberated other people and had a positive impact?
Oh, absolutely. And not only with gay people, but with anyone who was living with anxiety or any sort of mental health situation, or living in a relationship that just sucked and they kept it bottled up. And, you know, you when people hear me on the radio just letting it all out, I think it gives them license to let it all out. You got to let it all out. Living with anxiety is not an easy thing, and a lot of people don't understand it. Oh, you're anxious. Get over it. I mean, how many people have said that to you?
A lot of people.
Obviously,
no, they say calm down.
Oh, calm down.
Yeah.
Why are you so anxious? Well, because I'm living with anxiety. They don't understand, but it's up to you to teach them, and it's up to us to bring people forward and to help them understand what we are all about and what we're going through, and we have to be patient.
And tell me about some of your early mentors and what they taught you.
Most of my mentors you've never heard of. I mean, I'm assuming you and your...
Are you saying I'm young?
Your career... No, I'm thinking some of the mentors you've had no one else has ever heard of, but they're your mentors. People who sort of were the catalyst. I wanted to study them and how they got where they were in this business. One mentor, Ron Chapman, okay, I grew up listening to him on the radio in Dallas, Texas, and I just loved how he painted pictures with words, and I could just sit at my house 40 miles away from him, and he was talking to me. He was connecting to me, which is really my overarching theme in this book, is connecting. And this is why I do what I do. This is why you do what you do. I'm sure you like to connect. He was one of my mentors. And I ran into him years later. I told him, hey, I'm kind of successful because of you. And he said, yeah, good. Well, you owe me. And he walked away. So sometimes you shouldn't meet your mentors because they're jerks.
But do you believe you can learn something from everyone?
Yes.
The good and the bad?
Oh, absolutely. How not to do it.
What's some bad advice you received?
I don't know, because, I just flush it out immediately. The best advice I ever got, I'll tell you that in a minute, because I'm sure that's the last question you're going to ask me, right?
It definitely is.
If someone gives me bad advice, it's easy to edit it out. I'm very good at detecting what is right and what is wrong as far as it applies to me. So, can't answer that question.
For the show you currently have, how do you come up with the concept, and why do you think it works in attracting such a big audience?
I think the show works because we're just like a bunch of friends sitting around talking. Because in any given hour on our radio show, we'll talk about anything and everything at a rapid pace. I mean, we'll talk about relationships with food, and then we'll talk about, oh my God, a new restaurant. Have you had their lasagna? Oh my God, lasagna. It's got this cheese. That cheese is like stinky cheese. Why do people eat stinky cheese? It just smells, but when you eat it without smelling it, sniffing it, it tastes good. It's cheese. Ugh, that reminds me of someone's feet. I hate feet. Feet don't turn me on. Feet turn me off. Your shoes stink. I can smell them from here. And it's sort of a stream of consciousness thing we do. It's really just a lot of nothing, which is kind of sad to admit that.
And building the audience, which takes forever. I mean, building any audience takes a lot of work. It's consistency, authenticity. What do you think the formula is for connecting with an audience and then getting them to spread the message via word of mouth to build a larger audience?
I think telling them what you believe they need to hear, possibly because we need to hear it too. You know, one of our many messages that we talk about on our show is look at where you are in your life. Are you happy? Only you can do something about it if you're not. And we remind people that every day, and through time, we have found more and more people call up every day and say, you know what, because of you, I'm quitting my job. And that's kind of scary that we said something that's making someone listening quit their job. Because I don't want to be responsible for people missing out on paying the rent. But they all typically are very, very smart about it. But they'll say thank you. Thank you for giving me the courage through example, whatever example it was, to make me feel like I can live a better life. Because you know what, you're born here and you die here. What happens in between, it's up to us. We fill in these blanks. It's up to us to make our decisions because it's really our life that we're living, right?
Yeah.
Kind of simple.
A lot of my friends were like, oh, I listened to Elvis growing up. And so you've had such a sustainable career. What do you think the secret is to having such longevity in such a tough competitive industry?
I think it's two things, and they're sort of opposite. A consistency and also evolution. A consistency where our show is basically running at the same pace it ran 20 years ago. But it's sort of, it goes through constant evolution by changing the surrounding characters, by adapting to changing times. I mean, it's really funny. You listen to things we did on our show 10 years ago. We couldn't get away with that now because the whole world has changed. And we have to recognize we have to change with it. So I think it's several of those different pieces to the puzzle that have to come together. And it just worked. In honesty, if you ask me why our show survives, I don't have the answer. I can sit here all day. It's magic. I can sit here and make something up, and I think I sort of hit around it.
It's not just one thing. It's multiple things at once.
It is. It's like Dr. Frankenstein's monster. You know, it's all these different parts from different dead bodies that we've sewn together. But I don't know. We've been very lucky. Let's put luck in there as a part of it.
One of the big things that's happened in the media world in general is we've gone from a world in which the only people who had a big mic were people like you and Howard Stern and big TV personalities, but now everyone is part of the media.
Yep.
Everyone is their own personal brand. What do you recommend for people who want to build and elevate their personal brand?
I say be true to yourself. People have BS detectors. If they don't hear you being original, they don't hear you being true to yourself, they're going to move on to something else. And not everyone's going to like you. And you have to learn that really fast. You have to learn that you're not everyone's cup of tea. But you are many people's cup of tea. You will resonate with a lot of people. And so stay true to who you are. And eventually, the map you're following, they'll follow it too.
And what's your best piece of career advice?
Stay true to who you are. Don't lie. Be honest. I mean, be honest. You can lie about many little surface fun things, about where you had dinner last night. Maybe you didn't, but you ate there 3 years ago, but it sounds more interesting if you say you ate there last night. That's a little lie. That's okay. But staying true to your character and what makes you you, what makes you tick, I think people totally lock into that and get it. That's why I love Howard Stern. The guy is as honest as the day is long, and he really gave us all license to be honest on the radio, which is, for some reason on the radio, it's a very rare thing to find. I don't know why. But so be it. If we ripped him off, we did. We're honest, and I think people like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.